or a lack of jurisdiction to annul results. In the meantime, major cities in the country have been rocked by protests, with opposition supporters of candidate Issa Tchiroma alleging that the October 12 poll was marred by irregularities, including ballot stuffing.
Ever since the presidential election held on 12 October, the Central African country Cameroon is generating major unrest, with the incumbent, Paul Biya, reportedly leading with over 53% of the vote in provisional results, a thing that declares him a winner, being resisted by many Cameroonians. Things are not going easy for the 92-year-old longest-serving president. Constitutional Council of Cameroon dismissal of all petitions challenging the results from the elections is putting a fast-spreading frustration among the citizens who feel tired of President Paul Biya's regime. Protests and unrest are seen in several cities, including the northern cities of Marua and Garua, as opposition supports dispute the vote count and demand vote transparency. What is even shocking is that there are ongoing internet disruptions, a thing that is limiting information flow within the country and the ability for independent verification of events. The unrest and contested results, combined with existing security and humanitarian challenges in the country, mostly in the Anglophone regions and the far north, could escalate tensions furthermore. This lower middle-income country, with a population of over 28.37 million people, is located along the Atlantic Ocean. It shares borders with the Central African Republic, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and Nigeria. Cameroon is endowed with rich natural resources, including oil and gas, mineral ores, and high-value species of timber and agricultural products, such as coffee, cotton, cocoa, maize, and cassava. However, while being endowed with all these, the countrymen and women have not got the best out of them ever since independence. Poverty reduction in Cameroon has stagnated over the past 20 years, with approximately 4 in 10 Cameroonians living below the national poverty line. Due to infrastructure gaps, weak governance, low investment, and internal conflicts, a growing list of Cameroonians are now calling for change. Protests mostly led by young and vibrant Cameroonians. The African Gen Z is calling for a revolution across various countries on the continent. Over the past 2 decades, Cameroon's economy has seen a decline in the complexity of its export items, as evidenced by its drop from the 94th to the 120th position on the Economic Complexity Index, ECI. Cameroon is grappling with 2 major violent conflicts, but also faces rising ethno-political tensions on and offline. The bigger conflict between the government and separatists from the English-speaking minority started in 2017 and has killed over 6,500 people, a thing that needs resolution. While displacing over 584,000 people, with an additional 73,000 refugees in Nigeria, the UN declares that 1.8 million of the Anglophone region's 4 million people need humanitarian support, while about 250,000 children are affected by school closures because of the conflict. President Paul Biya has created a never-seen test for Cameroonians who up to now are not clear of what the future holds for them, with a nation that is seeming to be confused between whether the country is monarch or constitutional. Opposition candidate Issa Tchiroma Bakary's self-declaration of being a winner is being heavily rejected by allies of 92-year-old President Paul Biya, who is seeking another 7-year term after 43 years in power. The country stands at a crossroads between an aging ruler's tightening control and a defiant challenger determined to claim the people's mandate, and a restive region that long ago stopped believing in the confusing successive election ever since early years of President Paul Biya. Gen Z protests are spreading across parts of Africa, with youth-led coalitions demanding change. While conditions change from country to country, the spark is the same: stagnant prospects for young people, widening inequality, and an easy window into the lives of the elite and privileged through social media. These issues, especially when layered with limited resources, allegations of widespread corruption, and restricted social and economic mobility, have pushed some Gen Z Africans toward militant groups, others into dangerous migration schemes, and still more into political protests. Cameroonians, especially the young people, feel it is time to put matters into their own hands. Enough is enough, they say. For a country that has never seen fresh and instrumental ideas, want to find out how it feels when new and fresh leaders come into power. How could even a political, not a cultural leader, rule the nation from outside? Indeed, they look at this as confusing. They are tired of treating the nation as someone's corporation. Indeed, Cameroon isn't a company, but a nation full of millions of people who need proper attention from their leader. They say, how could you serve for so long, yet the nation still grapples with poverty and unending conflicts? For a country that has natural resources like oil and gas, how could basic life of a Cameroonian feel stagnant without improvement? What is even worrying is that the International Monetary Fund (IMF) says the country is at high risk of debt distress, meaning the money borrowed is so much that paying it back has become dangerous for the economy. Guess what? Just recently, towards 2025, the government's debt was almost half of the country's gross domestic product, GDP, standing at 46.8% of the GDP. We are now in 2025, and no one knows whether the debt couldn't be more than the country's GDP. When national debt exceeds GDP, it can lead to decreased investor confidence, making it harder for the government to borrow money and potentially leading to higher interest rates. This can result in a drag on economic growth, lower wages, higher unemployment, and a reduced ability for the government to respond to future emergencies. The economy may also see impacts like inflation or a decrease in private investment as savings are used to buy government debt instead.